Graves is the next hero added to Deadlock, and she is a necromancer with very powerful minion-based abilities. And she is really the first character in the game where the minions take center stage. You technically have McGinnis turrets, but they're stationary and they just explode as quickly as they're placed on the battlefield. And then you also have Rem who can buff up the existing lane creeps. But Graves here? Well, she is all about spamming out a ton of very powerful, effective, and super fun minions. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how she works, going over every single aspect of her kit, including things that you might not be aware of at first glance, and I'm also going to go over a couple of builds that I've created for her just day zero here that seem to be super effective. So let's get started by taking a look at her stats, and her base stats are actually rather weak. She has 700 starting health, 1 health regen, and at max level she has 1,855 health. It's alright, she's not as squishy as Rem, but she still doesn't exactly have much health. And she's also incredibly slow. She only has 2 stamina, pretty poor stamina regen, and she also has very low sprint and move speed. So yeah, she is really vulnerable to being displaced by abilities like Bebop's Hook or Lash's ultimate. And her weapon, well, this is one of the points of contention I have with the character. It's an auto-aim weapon. You guys know how I feel about auto-aim or aim cone weapons in games. I don't particularly care for them. But I think Valve has done a pretty good job of making sure that it is very balanced, because this weapon does, like, no damage. Take a look at the weapon stats over here. She does 41 whole DPS with no boons, and at max level she goes all the way up to 62 DPS, making this one of the weakest weapons in the entire game, just at base value here. She does, however, have one unique perk. She gets 8% bullet lifesteal from the get-go, which definitely helps out, especially the later into the match you go, because your damage is going to be much higher. But yeah, basically no damage, and also this weapon has really bad range. Yeah, I can only barely use it at this range, and if I back away ever so slightly, yeah, it just does nothing. And if you're not locked onto a target, it still does consume ammo, so you want to make sure you're actually close enough to hit this thing. It is, however, definitely the best soul-denying weapon in the game, because you don't even need to aim at the souls, and it auto-locks to them instantly. All of these weak stats for her weapon also make a lot of sense when you take a look at her third ability. More on that later. But for now, let's kick things off with the first ability, the Jar of Dead. This is such a fun ability. I love this so much. It is basically just Raging Spirits from Path of Exile. If you've ever played that game, you just throw a bunch of Raging Spirits on the ground. And then they start violently attacking whoever is nearby. And you can command them to attack a different target by just shooting someone else. They will attack whoever you're shooting at. And if there are no enemies in sight, then the minions will just follow you instead. But you do have to be close enough to them to actually bring them next to you. And then they will start attacking any player who's near you, as long as you make sure to attack them just like I did there. Now, you'll notice something very interesting about these deadheads, as they're called, although I'm going to be calling them Raging Spirits because I'm a Path of Exile player. These are not on a regular cooldown. Instead, you start the game with 4 maximum charges of Jar of Dead, although when you unlock the ability at first, you only just get 1 charge filled. And the jars will only fill up by collecting death when anything dies nearby. And so, if I were to, for example, kill this Infernus with my ridiculously underpowered weapon, I'm just gonna beat him to death like this, then he drops these green orbs on the ground, and they collect and give me charge for my Jar of the Dead here. And this isn't limited to just heroes. Heroes give you a lot, but also lane creeps are going to be your main source of charge for the Jar of the Dead. So they pop out, they drop the normal soul on the ground, and they also drop the green soul on the ground. And you do have to be in range for these green orbs to pop out. So I picked up the soul, you can see the green orb on the ground right over there, and if I walk over, I can collect it just like this, and that is how we get more Jars of the Dead. Now, if you're an astute Deadlock player, I'm sure you're already thinking about this item right here, Recharging Rush, the newest item added to the game. Dealing significant weapon damage replenishes a charge for each of your charged abilities. And yes, this does allow you to spawn deadheads pretty much out of thin air, but you do obviously need to actually do a significant damage with, I don't know, just Gunspike, Heroic Aura, some boons, and then boom, And I just got a charge of dead heads right here, and so I can throw that out now, and yeah, this item is just going to be insanely meta on this character unless they disable it, which, honestly, I am surprised that it does work on Jar of the Dead, because, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't work on Wraith, who has a similar charge mechanic. Now, I'm sure you're also wondering, can you counter these minions? Can you kill them? And the answer is, actually, yes. So if I just throw them over there, I can shoot them to destroy them, and it seems like they fixed the hitboxes. The hitboxes were super buggy on launch. And also, if the deadheads are attacking you... Oh, shoot. There we go. Throw them down. Yeah, if they're attacking you, then you can actually melee them as they get close to you, and that will also instantly destroy them. So they are very easy to kill. However, if I swap on over to 7 here just to get a nice AoE ability, you can see that AoE abilities do nothing to the deadheads. Shoot, the arc lightning doesn't even arc to them, so they are only affected by base bullet damage and melee attacks. That's the only way to kill them, but yeah, wow, they really did fix the hitboxes. The hitboxes were so bad on launch. Oh my goodness. The Jar of the Dead also has a 15-second duration for the minions by default with a 13-second charge cooldown. But, of course, you can just get rapid recharge, and all of a sudden now the cooldown is 6.5 seconds, meaning that you can theoretically have 2 of these jars active at the same time for 8 minions in total. If I just wait 1 more second, throw it down, boom. Now we have double the minions, double the trouble, and they can also be boosted in their attack rates by Heroic Aura, as you can see. However, they cannot be healed by any healing ability, and so healing tempo will not apply. So let's have a look at these upgrades now. The first upgrade actually buffs your passive. Collecting Death heals 5 health per pickup. It doesn't sound like a lot, but early on lane, this actually helps out a lot, because every minion that dies will heal you for at least 5 health. And I say at least because this scales with Spirit Power. With just Rapid Recharge, I have already doubled the health from 5 to 10. So if I kill this guy, boom, I get 10 health. Very nice, very clean, and yeah, this is actually a very major part of her sustain. In the matches I played, it was actually almost doing as much as Spirit Lifesteal for me, which is insane. The second upgrade causes the deadheads to apply a 30% movement slow for 1 second on hit, so it'll make it easier for the deadheads and anyone else to actually chase a target. And this is also the point where I'd like to mention that they can indeed apply effects like escalating exposure. So, do with that information what you will. The third upgrade, however, is by far the most powerful for your damage output, because it increases the deadheads per jar by 2. A massive 50% damage increase. And deadheads will now also trigger Essence Theft, which is her third ability. More on that later. I promise, guys, I'm getting to it eventually. But, yeah, this is just brutal. So much carnage. I mean, the amount of deadheads you get is insane with this upgrade and rapid recharge. That's 12 full minions that are now also boosted by Heroic Aura. Have fun, guys. Oh my goodness, dude. Yeah, these guys are so strong, but again, they can be shot down super easily. I absolutely love this ability. I think it's super fun. I love Raging Spirits and Path of Exile, and yeah, this is just that, but in Deadlock, and I've had a lot of fun playing with this ability, even if, admittedly, I would not be surprised if they nerf this, because from my testing, it seems ludicrously strong. Let's have a look at the next ability, Grasping Hands. This is an area denial and crowd control ability that spawns this chasm into the ground from which Grasping Hands will appear, and they will basically trap any enemy who enters the vicinity and also deal pretty good spirit damage to them too. So it immobilizes enemies for 1.5 seconds when they pass through the wall, and it has a 7-second duration with a 24-meter deploy range and 20 meters of actual ability range, although this will scale with Spirit Power, so you can get a very big wall later. And as you can see, if I just deploy it at their feet, it has a sort of casting animation where it won't root them right away, but then as soon as they touch the wall, those hands come up from the floor and they immobilize them, which is very, very mean when paired with the minions, because, you know, the minions can just bite them and they can't exactly run away. So this is a very good zoning tool, and the vertical range of it is pretty solid as well. So let me take control of 7 here, and then I'm going to mimic the Graves, and we can just throw that out, and then I can jump, and as you can see, I can't jump over it. I can double jump over it, but if you start the double jump too soon, you're still going to be picked up by that. And then if I go ahead and throw this out again, dash jumping also does not work. So a full double jump or wall jump minimum is required to actually clear the vertical height of this ability. So here are the upgrades. The first upgrade gives 2 more seconds of duration, 9 seconds in total, very nice. The second upgrade is very disgusting, plus 0.75 seconds of immobilized duration. That's 2.25 seconds of total immobilization, folks. That is bananas, especially because duration is just generally really good on this character, so you're gonna pick up superior duration at some point, and that's gonna bring it up to almost a 3-second root. The third upgrade is also just very nice if you want to spam this ability. You get plus 15 whole meters of wall length, and minus 10 seconds off the cooldown. Very nice indeed. And with a good amount of spirit scaling, and also greater expansion, the wall gets pretty big pretty fast. 55 meters of range on this bad boy. Oh my goodness, that is big. So you can definitely cause some strife on the battlefield with this. And one final thing to note is that you can actually rotate the wall when deploying it 90 degrees, and so you can have a vertical wall just like this. We finally got to the third ability that I've been talking about the entire video. This is Essence Theft, and it's the reason why you've seen a little icon appear above the enemy's heads whenever I shoot them. This ability allows you to steal weapon damage and spirit resist over time up to a maximum amount per target. This is a very powerful ability. The max weapon damage stolen scales with spirit power, and so if you have a lot of spirit power, like from Boundless Spirit, then this escalates quickly, and it allows you to greatly reduce the damage that you take, which is how she's able to stay alive, despite not having that much health and hardly any mobility. And the spirit resist stolen is flat, just 10%, but the first upgrade allows you to get 5% additional spirit resist steal, which synergizes so well with your minions, which do spirit damage. So yeah, this is a very good combo. And you can steal from 3 separate targets at a time, and it takes 4 seconds for the max damage steal. Now, this can be modified by fire rate, so if I get some fire rate items here, then I will build up this debuff on the enemies just a little bit quicker. Very cool. And, this gets very out of hand if we get an item like Split Shot. Check this out! Oh! I can hit both of them, despite actually being pretty far away from both of them. So, yeah, Split Shot does indeed work with this weapon. I'm sure you were already asking that in the comments. Don't worry, I answered it for you. I just had to get to this part of the video first. And also, Ricochet! Oh yeah, this is very, very mean. Not only does it increase the theoretical max range of your beam, because, you know, I'm not hitting that guy normally, but if I bounce off of 7, then I can hit him. But it also means that I'm stealing from multiple targets at the same time, allowing her weapon to ramp up drastically if there are multiple enemies nearby. You can play Gun Graves, despite her base weapon being so bad, because of her third ability, and instead of being a single target powerhouse, you are instead a group damage powerhouse. And this is made even stronger by the second upgrade here, which gives us just 20% more weapon damage stolen. The third upgrade, however, has an even more broken synergy with Ricochet in particular. The weapon can attach to an additional target. This is very strong, but it is a little finicky to use. So your reticle has to be able to naturally just kind of hit both targets at the same time. Let me summon an Infernus here and another Infernus here. Oh, where did he go? What? That's a very strange bug that's been happening recently, but yeah. So if these two targets are too far apart, then I'm actually not able to hit either of them at all. But if both of them are within the aim cone, then 2 separate beams come out. Let me sell the Ricochet to make that more clear. So 2 separate beams come out just like this. This is the default weapon, no split shot active. Let me sell that to... That's just how the weapon works with this tier 3 upgrade. And so the synergy with Ricochet is that it actually ricochets twice off of both these targets, allowing you to kill them way faster than if you were just hitting one target. So let me demonstrate that again. Oh my goodness, he keeps falling through the floor. So if I just shoot the 7 here, those Infernuses don't take too much damage. And even if I just shoot the 1 Infernus here, it's not going to do too much damage, at least not as fast as if I beam both of them at the same time, just like this. So let me respawn them one more time just to show you. Stop falling through the floor, man! So if I beam both of them like this with my ricochet, spawns 2 beams, and they just evaporate. So this is very, very good. It's super strong with ricochet if you want to play a gun build, because you can just leech from everybody, and by stealing everybody's weapon damage, all of a sudden, her gun is hitting potentially harder than some proper actual gun builds in the game, but you have to have a lot of targets in the vicinity for that to happen. You don't necessarily have to buy Ricochet, though, if you are playing a regular minion build, because as I mentioned earlier, the Jars of the Dead will trigger Essence Theft, and so, yeah, they can apply the Essence Theft super easily to multiple targets, just like this. So, yeah, you really don't need to worry about it too much. If you want to build for Spirit, Ricochet isn't, like, mandatory on this character, but if you're playing Gun Graves, I would absolutely highly recommend Ricochet. I already played it once, and it was disgusting. Now, if you were worried that this Necromancer character didn't have enough minions with just the one ability, well, wait until you see her ultimate. This is Borrowed Decree. It lets her summon a tombstone, which thus summons minions. Look at these little ghouls. They charge towards the enemies, and they explode, dealing a pretty good amount of damage once you ramp it up. And this will just perpetually spawn minions that also, by the way, drop this Death Force here that you can use to charge up your Jars of Dead. So this is an extremely cool ability, and it's also very powerful. It lets her push lanes and cause chaos in teamfights better than a lot of other heroes can. So let's dive into the details of how it works, because there's a lot here. First of all, this actually has an insanely low cooldown of just 109 seconds by default, and the tier 1 upgrade brings that down to a mere 89 seconds. And this also lasts for 20 seconds by default, and the duration scales with spirit power. So once again, if we pick up Boundless Spirit, which, yeah, you're gonna want this item on this character, then already it has gone up to a 24-second duration, and it summons ghouls every 5 seconds. So you really want multipliers of 5 when it comes to your duration here on Borrowed Decree. But regardless, the uptime on this is incredible. If we get superior duration, it's up to a 33-second duration, 89-second cooldown. That is really good uptime. We basically have ghouls coming out once every minute. Like, that's insane. And so we can put this down again, and this is just gonna pump out ghouls, and they're going to go find some enemies to attack. And these ghouls also have their own stats to keep in mind. So they deal quite a lot of spirit damage with really good spirit scaling. 1.5 spirit scaling, 150 damage by default. As you can see with Boundless Spirit, we've already doubled the damage. These ghouls will also slow down the enemies when they explode, just like this, and they also come with a knockback, so they're pretty good crowd control and overall just pretty good damage. They each have 260 health, and the health scales with boons. So at max level Graves here, they can get up to 620 health. Not too high in the grand scheme of things, and they have no resistances either, so other AoE characters like Seven here will actually be able to destroy the minions fairly easily, but still, if you leave them unchecked, they are going to sneak up on you, and they are going to kill you. And, yeah, the minions themselves last for 20 seconds by default. You can increase that lifetime with superior duration and other duration items, and when they're not attacking players or objectives, then they will actually melee attack things like creeps here. And I was actually surprised to see this when I played Graves for the first time, but they will actually even attack neutral camps without you even having to do anything. Although, looks like in this case, they need a little bit of encouragement. But yeah, I just saw these guys beating up a tier 1 camp next to the lane, and I was like, oh, wow, that's convenient. Thank you for the souls. So, yeah, the melee attacks aren't, like, too strong or anything, but if you get enough of these guys on a minion like this, they can theoretically help you farm. And with how low the cooldown on this is, I don't know, maybe you could take a tier 3 camp with it or something. And if any enemies come looking for you, Oh my goodness, yeah, they're just gonna get obliterated by the amount of minions that you're summoning. The next two upgrades make the ghouls even more powerful, so the second upgrade here gives the ghouls a 25% movement speed boost, and it also makes the tombstone itself last 10 seconds longer, so if the tombstone lasts the entire duration, you get 2 more minions. Very nice. The third upgrade, just like the third upgrade on Jar of Dead, is insane for your total damage output. Explosions deal plus 5% max health damage, and 3 ghouls will instantly spawn when you cast this ability. Yeah, this is pretty good. Take a look at this. Kaboom! Yeah, there's just 1600 damage on that guy, super easy. And this thing is just going to keep pumping out minions that all do a lot of damage. So, you might be asking, how do you deal with this ability exactly? Can the enemies just shoot it? Well, they can't shoot it, but they can still destroy this thing. So, let me stop the whole mimic thing. But yeah, the way you deal with this is by heavy meleeing it twice. Just like that, and then it disappears. You have to be careful, though, because a smart Graves player... Ah, get off me! A smart Graves player will be able to try to parry you when you go looking for her tombstone. I have a very funny clip of that already. Okay. Tombstone here. Ha! Oh, that is the biggest parry bait in the world! So if you're lucky enough to play Graves, then you'll probably want to put the tombstone in a place where it can't be easily destroyed, or a place where you can easily bait some parries out of the enemies, just like that. Parry them, and stun them, and kill them with a bunch of damage from all of your minions. So, you can also just put this pretty far away from the fight, too, as long as it's relatively close to the lane and close to the objectives that you want to be attacking. The minions last long enough that they will eventually find their way to the fight and do a lot of damage. So, yeah, you can get very crafty with the placement of this thing, and you gotta watch out for opportunities to parry the enemies that come trying to destroy it. Graves is a super fun hero to play, and I absolutely love her playstyle. I feel right at home playing her as a Path of Exile minion enjoyer. Yeah, this is super cool, even if it is a little overtuned right now, especially with the builds that I'm about to show you. So this is my day 1 Raging Spirits build for Graves. It's focused on making her minions as powerful as possible, and I'm gonna have a video on the channel up tomorrow demonstrating just how powerful this build can be in a real match. But until then, let me show you the basics of how the build works. We're making use out of Rapid Recharge, a little bit of extra Spirit, and Mystic Expansion to hit our Spirit 4.8k here. Rapid Recharge is essential for spamming the Jars of Dead, and Mystic Expansion makes it a little bit easier for the minions to actually target the enemies appropriately, just like that. So I find it's a useful bit of utility, and it's very cheap too. Then we're getting Recharging Rush to make sure that we can have as many Jars of Dead as possible, and Heroic Aura, because remember, Heroic Aura does in fact work on the minions. Boom, buff them up, and now they're going to attack much, much faster. This is a huge DPS increase, and Heroic Aura also makes it easier to actually proc Recharging Rush. Of course, I have cooldowns on right now, so it didn't work, but you get the point. Then after that, we get our green 4.8k Enduring Speed, Spirit, Lifesteal, and Healbane, pretty typical stuff. And after that, it's just going into cooldown reduction on the Tombstone here, duration for all of our abilities to work better, and Boundless Spirit and Escalating Exposure. And by the time we get these two abilities online, with our maxed out Jar of Dead and Borrowed Decree, everything just dies. Like, this does an insane amount of damage. Everything is going to explode when you use these abilities. She's able to proc Escalating Exposure with all of the minions here, and the longer the fight goes on, the stronger she's going to be, especially because the minions also apply Essence Theft, so you can shoot them, you should still shoot them, but you don't even technically need to shoot them, the minions can just handle it from here. The other build I have to show you is a Gun Graves build, and everything in this build is extremely bland and vanilla and just like every other gun build in the game. Except for one specific item, and that is, of course, Ricochet, for the synergy that I showcased earlier, where Ricochet will allow you to massively boost your damage output by stealing gun damage from everybody in the fight. And this item makes it that Graves wants to take big team fights where there are multiple enemies present, rather than taking 1v1s like you would on a character like Haze or Wraith. So a bit of a distinction there with the playstyle, but when you are in a team fight, this is extremely powerful, and the damage it deals is absolutely absurd. And if you want to, you can also pick up some debuffs and spread those around with her weapon, but it doesn't quite synergize with Ricochet. As I'm sure you already know by now, Ricochet will not proc these items on the ricocheting bullets. It'll only proc it on the first target you hit. But that is not, in fact, the case for the weapon split here, the Tier 3 on Essence Theft. So if you are able to hit two enemies like this, you can indeed build up the debuffs on both of them, which makes these items particularly strong on this character, and it also makes Toxic Bullets very good on this character. She builds it up easier than just about any other character in the game. It is very nice. But anyways, that's gonna do it for this video, so let me know what you think about Graves, the newest character in Deadlock, in the comments section down below. I do think she's probably a little overtuned, but maybe I'll be proven wrong over the next couple of days. Honestly, I do hope I am proven wrong. But in the meantime, I'm going to be enjoying this minion-based playstyle. I'm so happy we finally have one of these in a hero shooter like Deadlock, and yeah, I think she turned out great. And I'm so happy that she doesn't have a resurrection ability too, because that plus Victor plus the Rejuve I think would just be too much for this game. So kudos to Valve for coming up with something different and honestly something much more fun. Before we end the video, of course, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos from me, and also like this video if you enjoyed and you want to see more Graves content here on the channel. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.